Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I want to talk about live action movies. So me personally, I hate live action movies, especially because there's been like an increasing rise of like book to book to live action movie or like cartoon animated shows and movies to live action movies. And I feel like it's something about that type of movie that doesn't work for me personally, and I want to kind of get into it. So the thing with live actions is it can be very challenging to get like the original show, TV, movie, book, whatever, and adapt it effectively in live action format. Because a lot of these shows, movies, books are set in like an unrealistic world. It's not something that we see here, therefore, it's not something that we are familiar with visually, audibly, whatever. So it's hard to kind of connect those two mediums, like the medium of animation and then the medium of film is two very different things, and how they're approached lends to very different results. So it's kind of hard to visualize the unreal. Not only that, it's like oftentimes like the character designs and like the proportions of those characters are very in animated film, like in animated shows and TVs are very exaggerated, are very weird, wonky, kind of like it doesn't connect in the way that we do in the real world. And that kind of lends to some of the funness of animation is you're allowed to exaggerate or simplify or do all these really wonky things. But that combined with like good writing, good animation, great character development lends to us not really caring about those stylized choices. And so when you go to live action, the characters lose that vividness in their animatedness or in their design. So it's not as you can't do as much with it. It's kind of hard to suspend disbelief. I know like any movie or book you read, of course you're suspending disbelief, but when you take something from a world that's not like our own and then you incorporate it into a world that looks like our own, it's way harder to suspend disbelief because you know what you're looking at. So you're like, even with like CGI visual effects, it's kind of harder to manipulate those things to show the kind of fluidity that animation possesses or like your mind possesses when you read books. This is why animation to me is so powerful. I've said it once, I've said it again. Animation is an art form and a medium. It's a way to show and express different things while using the tools that are accessible to it. And that's what makes animation so powerful. Like you're able to really express yourself. There's freedom in it. Usually with live actions, oftentimes live actions are made because corporations want to make money off a popular IP, and those IPs happen to be from books or from animated shows or, you know, from TV. So it kind of you're not able to be as artistically free with it as you would be if you were doing an animated show. Well, that's not necessarily true because a lot of animated shows have corporations over them too. But when it's like a live action, although live actions cost less sometimes than certain animated movies because it requires less work put into it, but I feel as though you're able to bend more when it's animated versus when it's a live action. I feel like companies are more likely to give you more leeway to express yourself. I feel like we can kind of see that with like how Disney is doing their animated movies versus their live action movies. Like their live action movies, they get no wiggle room. They are not allowed to do too much. But like I feel like the stuff that they're putting out that's more animated, they have way more freedom to go about their visions because people do look down on animation. So it's not that like people aren't really pressed about it the way they would be a live action. It's easier with animation, it's easier to suspend reality because animation embraces these unnatural elements and incorporates them in a way that we can visually understand while simultaneously like not really understand. So it's really cool to see those like fantastical realms, imaginative animals, cool powers, these really extraordinary scenarios, and they blend perfectly with the narrative because you're able to kind of be really attention to detail oriented when it comes to those. And I'm going to make a YouTube video about why details are so important in books and movies. Um, I'll probably link it up above if I can. I'm still figuring out this YouTube thing, but yeah, and not only that, I think the reason why animation is so powerful is because it takes these elements that we're unfamiliar with, these characters that aren't visually what we're used to, these worlds that we're not familiar with, and we're create storylines, characters that can resonate with us emotionally. It's a very powerful thing to take some color and some lines and be able to evoke real human emotion through those characters. Live action is, I feel, easier to do so, not just regarding the artist or the actor's work, but like it's easier for a human to show human emotion. I feel like it's much harder for an animated character to show human emotion because they're not technically humans, they're fictional. Versus those actors who are real, they can draw upon that emotion to act. I feel like creating like all this like line work and details and storylines and all these things, that's so difficult to do. And so when I see it, it's so impressive. Like I can't stop raving about animation. I feel like it gets snubbed. Another YouTube video that's coming out, I'm definitely going to talk about how animation movies get snubbed at award shows, even though the award shows are rigged, as we all know. So I feel like when live action tries to do what animation does or what your imagination does when it's reading, it's not able to meet that expectation because it's not able to physically hit that level. One really powerful example of this is Avatar: Last Airbender. I've seen the show and the movie, and when I say the show has I think it's one of the greatest shows of all time. Don't at me. Stand hands down. That's a good show. I feel like it's able to connect emotionally. I feel like it's a fun thing to do. It's visually appealing. The characters are interesting. The story is dynamic. And not to mention, it's in a world full of power. So it's not like it's a boring thing to watch. And so they're able to do all of those things and it be such an amazing, phenomenal show. And then you look at the live action adaptation, which has its quirks because of reasons besides it just being a live action adaptation. But the fact that it's a live adaptation, a live adaptation. I don't know why I stuttered over that, like I didn't know what I was saying. But the fact that it wasn't able to hit those same points was disappointing. And also, it's like you can tell they were never going to hit that level because they're not able to do as much. Like you can only use so many visual effects to make someone look like they're moving water before it starts getting to the point of being like, come on now. Like it's not giving what needed to be gave. And for those who don't know, AAVE, it just means that it didn't hit what it needed to, which for those who don't know AAVE, I'm like Southern, so it's like I have a lot of phrases and a lot of things, but it's like it just didn't meet the expectations set for it. It didn't look as appealing. It didn't resonate as deeply because you can't compare apples to oranges. I think if the movie wasn't connected to ATLA, I think it would have been a better movie, but because it was connected to an animated show that came before it, of course it's going to not hit those same marks because it's not able to hit that level. Same thing like books. Like when you're reading a book, your imagination takes you to places you've never been before. That's why I love reading so much. It's such a fun escape. It's such a fun thing to do in your free time. But in that same breath, when they adapt books to movies and it's set in like a fantastical world, like when it's set in the contemporary world, it's like much easier, even though sometimes they still mess that up. It's like even in contemporary settings, the what you see versus what you get is not the same thing. And so books, your imagination is so powerful that when they live adapt a movie, you can't help but be disappointed because they were never going to match up to what your imagination could do, ever. And on top of the fact that you had to pay for something that didn't match your imagination, sucks. That's why fans get so upset when these movie companies and stuff produce this content, these movies and sometimes shows, and they're like, oh, well, you didn't do this right or you didn't do that right. And I don't mean in the way of like taking creative liberties, although they do get upset, very upset about that, a little too upset about that. But these components that are integral to the design of the world, to all these other things, and you're just kind of throwing them by the wayside for the purpose of what? To create something that's not as authentic to the original vision. And that's the reason why I low-key got real beef with Disney's live action remakes, because not the Little Mermaid though. Oh, or Cruella, because that Cruella movie was low-key good. It was it a ripoff of Devil Wears Prada? Yes, obviously. But was it good? It can be still be good. That's why Sheen is so popular. Ooh. But that's why I had beef with so many live action Disney remakes, because it takes something that was so special about the animated, the heart, the soul, the details, the quirkiness, the vividness, the world building, and just poo-poo all over that and make something soulless just for the sake of it being a live action, which never matches up. Never. And it's just a money grab. And I feel like live action remakes most times, often, more than not, are money grabs. Well, all movies and TV shows are money grabs. We're in a capitalist society. So you want to make money at the end of the day. But I just feel like live actions, especially this era of movie making, this era of cinema, is so dependent on making live actions, reboots, remakes, but especially live actions of iconic IPs. So it's just like, why rip the heart out of something? That's my little tangent about live action remakes, movies in general. But there are exceptions to the rules. I don't have any exceptions to the rules. If you have some exceptions to the rule, comment them down below, because I really do want to see some really good live action movies that do justice to their books or their animated TV shows. But me personally, on top of my head, I can't think of anything. I really can't. I really can't. And that's so unfortunate because I watch a lot. I watch a lot. Like, and so it's yeah. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe down below. What do you think about live action remakes? Do you think that they're doing what they need to do, or do you think that it's kind of corrupting cinema? The corrupting's a hard word, but you know what I'm saying? Like, it's kind of ruining movie watching. Do you think that it's actually really effective and you enjoy those movies? If so, let me know. Peace out.